Have you ever thought about what it would take to quit your job and make resell your full-time hustle? I have. Stay tuned and find out what it would take. It's Stephanie with Three Queens Resale, and if you're new to my channel, thanks for stopping by, and if you're returning, thanks for coming back. It does mean a lot to me as I work on building my YouTube channel. If you're new, a few introductions. I am a full-time English teacher, a part-time reseller, mom of two, and wife, and add YouTuber to that list. So very busy, but I like to find time to be creative, and YouTube is my creative outlet, as well as an opportunity to share my tips and tricks about reselling. I have been a part-time reseller for 2 years now. It's hard to believe, but I started in June of 2019. What is this? 2018. But I've been doing it for 2 years. Okay, so today's topic is going to be on what would it take for me to transition into a full-time reseller. So reselling is my passion. I spend a lot of time working on it and building my little small business with my daughters, and I love it, love it, love it. And I wish that I could do it full-time. I am a full-time teacher, which is also a passion. And as you probably know about life, you've kind of got to pick and choose what you want to focus your energy on. I'm the type of person, I know some people are very different. The more things that I focus my energy on, I feel like my energy is diluted in those things, and so those things don't get the best of me. So I'm not one that can have like 18 side hustles going. They would just all be crappy. So I like to put all my eggs in a few baskets and make the most out of those opportunities. So in this video, I'm going to discuss for you, with you, what it would take for me to transition my passion into reselling and replace my passion of teaching. So this is something that I have thought about, and to put pen to paper and actually do the numbers and think about it brings up a lot of questions, but also gives me a lot to think about as I move forward. So some things I want to start off with things to consider before I would go full-time as reseller, or anybody should consider, not just myself. One, your family size. I have a family of 4. It's myself, my husband, and my 2 daughters. You might be a single person, so going full-time would be a lot easier for you. So just that's something to consider, is your family size. 2, other sources of income. Since I do have a husband that makes a good income, I could probably not have to make as much money as I'm making now, and our lifestyle wouldn't change as much. That would also give me some cushion because I do have another person to pay bills. But if you are a single person, it is all on you, baby. So unless you're lucky enough, I don't know, or unlucky enough to live with your parents and rent-free, then you have all the opportunity in the world to make this work, and I suggest you go for it. And then the other third thing to consider is vested interest. And what I mean by that, what other vested interest do you have that would keep you in your current position, or even force you into a new position? So for example, for me, I have been teaching 22 years. I am 8 years from meeting my retirement age and getting my full pension as a teacher here in the state of Indiana. So I have a vested interest in staying with teaching. I kind of planned on that nest egg, that pension money in my retirement, and so that is a substantial amount of my future income. So leaving it now is not something I'm sure I would want to do unless the opportunity was more than enough to make up for that. So that's something that anyone has to consider. Maybe you have a retirement fund or stock options or whatever or something. So what other vested interests do you have? I also have a vested interest in staying employed with an employer that pays my insurance benefits, because I am a type 2 diabetic and I am insulin dependent. And so because of that, I need to have health insurance for myself to take my life-saving medicines. I cannot afford to pay for those just straight out of pocket. For example, I just had a prescription filled last week, and without my insurance, or with my insurance, it was $1,500. Now I got that down because you know I do some couponing and other things, but yeah, that's expensive, and I don't see how a regular middle-class family could take that hit every month without health insurance. So those are all things to consider before you, myself, or anyone make the jump into full-time entrepreneurship, which is what reselling would be. So part 2 of this is my numbers. So before I decide that I can or cannot be a full-time reseller at this time, I need to look at how much money do I really make as a teacher and as a reseller. So I have a base salary of around $65,000. I'm just going to keep it at 65 just to make my math a little easier. And then about 40K in fringe benefits. Those fringe benefits are not money in my pocket that I necessarily take home on my paycheck, but they are money in that I don't have to pay for them. And they include health insurance. Well, I do pay a deductible and I do pay into insurance out of my paycheck. It is a fraction of what it would even cost to get insurance for a family of 4 on the exchange, the healthcare exchange, or private insurance. I have life insurance for myself as well as for my husband and my 2 children. Me being a type 2 diabetic, it is extremely hard for me to find an affordable policy for anything, especially life insurance and short and long-term disability at a reasonable rate. And just because I'm an employee of the district, I automatically get a life insurance policy, and then I purchased additional life insurance policies for my husband and my 2 children through my school district at a very discounted rate. So those are things to consider. Paid time off. So if I get sick, one of my kids gets sick, if I have to take one of my parents to the doctor, I can take off of work and still be getting paid. These are sick days, personal days, whatever. But if you're a reseller, you got to work every day. If you don't work, you don't get paid. You don't get paid. You don't get to eat. So that's something to think about. Are you a type of person that needs that? However, reselling does allow flexibility for you to do your job and take care of your family and those other needs. You have some freedoms. You're not constrained by time. So maybe the paid time off is not necessarily an issue because you won't necessarily need to take time off. You can create your own work schedule so that you could take care of elderly parents and run your business at the same time. Short-term and long-term disability benefits are also in those fringe benefits. And as I mentioned, with my health condition, it is hard to get affordable rates privately for those services when you have any type of chronic illness or disease, like type 2 diabetes. So I'm fortunate enough that I get those through my workplace. They pay for our long-term disability, and then I only have to pay for my short-term disability if I choose to have that. And I'm also a member of the teachers union, so it will come in and make up any part of disability that, for instance, let's say the company was going to pay me 60% of my income in disability payments. Well, the union will come in and make up that 40%, so I will still get 100% of my pay, even when I'm out on disability. And I have had surgeries in the past. A few years ago, I had a surgery that I was out of work for 8 weeks. That was just the recovery time. It was something that I needed to have done. And, you know, I'm very fortunate that I had that, and my family we could continue to make all of our bills and do what we do. And I didn't have to stress out about money, and I could just, you know, recover at home and watch YouTubers like you online. And the last thing is retirement. Some of you are super young, and I wish that I would have discovered reselling back when I was in my early 20s, even as a side hustle, because it is just so easy to get into and so lucrative, and who doesn't like to shop? So, but now I'm on the other end of the rainbow, and I'm looking forward to a happy, healthy retirement at a young age. I'll only be 55 when I retire, but I have a long time to be retired. If I don't want to have to go back to work after retiring, like work for like the school system, then I've got to be smart about my money now. And my company pays into, my school district pays into my retirement, and it matches what I do. So if I were to be a full-time reseller, and that's in addition to my pension. My pension is a separate thing, but I do have a retirement fund, so that's two prongs in my retirement, two sources of income that I hope to feed off of when I turn 55. So those are all things, like, those are my numbers. So those are the like things that as a teacher that I would like to continue having as a reseller, or at least I have to be able in my head to figure out like what's the reasonable alternative, how am I going to substitute, how am I going to make up this difference. So what does it look like as far as a reseller? What numbers would I have to do to make the same amount of money as I do as a teacher? So with my salary and my fringe benefits combined, I figure I make about $105K together. Now, keep in mind, I mentioned that those fringe benefits are not necessarily money in my pocket. They are benefits that, you know, kind of I don't have to pay for in the long run. So that $105K annually, let's keep that big number in our head. My average sell price right now is about $14.84 an item. So we're going to go ahead and try round that up to $15. So if I were to just look at resale income, no other income, I would have to sell $10,000, or I'm sorry, 10,000 items a year, at $15 a piece. So 10,000 Banana Republic blazers a year at $15 each in order to make my salary and fringe benefits combined. 10,000. That breaks down to 833 blazers a month and 28 blazers a day. I'm just using blazers so people understand, like I'm talking about individual items, okay? So that is a lot. I do not sell 28 items a day currently. I sell about 20 to 35 items a week. And that's with me part-time listing between 4 to 7 items a day. In my mind, in order to keep up with selling that many items, 10,000 items in a year, I would need to list about 75 items a day at the $15 range. Obviously, I would need to increase my average sale price of items if I were to go full-time, because those numbers are a lot for one person to do. So that's what it looks like as far as what reselling would look like to earn my same amount of money as teaching. Okay, so a few other things to consider that I've considered about going full-time that I haven't gone into detail on this video about. One would be taxes. So, of course, I pay taxes on my $65,000 a year. I don't really know much about that because my husband takes care of our taxes, and I would also have to pay taxes on any money I made as a full-time reseller, just like I have to pay taxes on the money that I make as a part-time reseller. So yeah, taxes I didn't even include because in both scenarios I have to pay taxes either way. Also, something to consider is that I am able to make two things to consider. I don't work year around. As a teacher, I do not work year around. I work 190 days with students and probably another 5 days in professional development. So my $65,000 and my $40,000 in benefits is representative of those days that I work. Since I don't work year round, I can do things like resell part-time in the summer. I resell all year round, but I couldn't ramp that up in the summer and make more income. And I get to be off on breaks and stuff with my kids. So if I were a full-time reseller, I would need to work 365 days a year. So that is a big difference than what I currently, my current working schedule with summers off. So that's something else to consider, as well as I have a spouse. So you need to consider additional revenue streams of income. I have a spouse. He does help with the bills. He can't help with the bills. He does help. He does pay the bills. And I am able to part-time resell, which is extra income into our family that is over and above my teaching salary. So those are other things that would need to be, I would need to factor in, because I would be losing a part-time side hustle income if I were a full-time reseller, because I would not be part-time reselling then. But some positive things to consider about being an entrepreneur and working for yourself would be the freedom. I am so envious of those full-time resellers and their time, like that they own their time and they can come and go as they please, and they're not trying to do everything on the weekend like I am. And so that is something to consider, like how valuable is freedom to you and the ability to come and go and move as you want in your life and in your business. And then what's the future look like for me? Well, do I plan to go full-time? The answer to that question is eventually. Like I said, I am vested in my job and I am so close to retirement. I have 8 years to go. I do have a daughter who is a senior in high school this year. And so she will be going off to college, and I want to be able to support her with that. And with that big unknown expense for her and our family, I don't want to transition out of my guaranteed money right now. But eventually I do see myself in the future as a full-time entrepreneur or reseller. So what do I want to do in the meantime? In the meantime, I plan to continue to build my brand on Instagram and YouTube through this channel and my Instagram account, which you can follow me at this down below. I love to check you out, and I'd love for you to check me out on Instagram. So I plan to continue that, continue to learn about brands and fashion, and just I thought I knew fashion until I became a reseller. All I know is a bunch of mall brands, and the more I learn about the high-end designers, the more intrigued I am about just the beauty of clothes and fashion. And I have always loved beautiful things, even as a tiny girl. And so it breaks my heart to see them in the bins and to know that they're going to go to a landfill when someone else could be enjoying them. And so I want to continue to learn about brands so that I can notice them, pick them out, and just fix them up and resell them. And I do want that to be my job one day. My full-time job is rescuing beautiful things and finding them a new home. And lastly, I want to be able to use my reseller, part-time reseller money to pay off all of our family debt. We are interested in buying a new home in the near future, which is another reason I need to keep my job. It's harder to get a loan when if you don't have a full-time, like a W-2 or whatever, a pay stub, going into the bank. I want to buy this house. What do? I sell stuff. I flip stuff from the Goodwill. So especially, I feel like as a Black woman, I need to have my stable job to get a new mortgage. But I'd like to use my reseller income to continue to get debt-free. Super close, so hopefully by the end of the year I will be debt-free, as well as to save money for our family emergency plan, emergency fund, as well as money towards our dream house. So that's what I plan to do in the future. I'm going to keep on keeping on as a part-time reseller and just continue to put as much time and energy as I can into building my business. And then when the time is right, I'm going to come through full time. But until then, I will just keep on with the part-time. So if you found this video interesting, helpful, or have any questions about anything that I've said, you can give me a like and leave me a comment. I do appreciate any feedback. And until next time, bye.